Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, offensive line status report following their best Saturday of the season. You heard me. And style points. Do we need stinking style points?
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in this episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward moment from Mazda. Move and be moved. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again, my friend, and a few things to get to on today's episode as we are making our way through this idle week for our Red Raiders. We'll spend some time looking ahead a little bit into the future on a couple of different fronts, actually. I want to talk more about the schedule that we have upcoming and an interesting question posed to us by one of our mobsters this week regarding the need possibly for some style points if you're able to get some of these wins. On top of just winning, how good do you have to make it look if maybe the resume is not going to be chock full of top 25 opponents? We'll get to that coming up in just a moment. Also looking ahead future-wise as it relates to a conversation that's been a popular one, obviously, this week, that being the quarterback room. But I want to talk beyond 2025 because I know there's also been some questions regarding a supposed future logjam of sorts, getting excited about a Will Hammond era. Well, how about the guy after him, and then the guy after him, and then possibly the guy after him? Because the excitement, I think, continues. So I want to talk with you about sorting that out and also a different angle to that with regard to some of the differences highlighted this week between Baron Morton and Will Hammond, one of those being some mobility for Wheels Hammond, and sort of want to discuss maybe what we can expect as far as the profile of a future Red Raider QB. But I want to kick off the conversation, Chris, in the trenches and on a side of the ball that has not quite gotten as much shine, I don't think, as the other side. Hard to do when you've been as good defensively as Tech has been up front. The offensive line has had their moments, but I feel like there's been much more conversation regarding it continuing to be a work in progress and not the prettiest of pictures. Now, when you win a game like you do against the defensive front like that on Saturday, you're going to need a bucket full of credit for that group. So I'm not trying to split hairs or get lost in some details that did contribute to a 24-point road win. But I'm curious to get your take on the O-line so far. And as we talked about a defensive MVP yesterday, I'm wondering maybe who you would name among, say, the best of the O-line to this point. A newcomer, a returner, anybody standing out to you?
Yeah, I think anytime the offensive line has been questioned or you look at it, it's because you're stalling at the goal line. There was a sack or two, obviously false start penalties, to which is that their fault or is that just they didn't have the right mechanics involved to maneuver their way through those kinds of issues. We've had some injuries at this particular position to where it didn't allow for a true all hands on deck competition, so it could really get sorted out. You were just kind of, and that may be why Jacob Ponton is kind of taking that right tackle spot and not going to give it back. It doesn't appear. But if you're asking me the best one, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't say Sheridan Wilson, because I think he's got the most responsibility. I think, and you're running for over 200 a game. I was just looking that up a second ago, so I'm like fumbling through papers. But you're running for over 200 a game on average. And with all the issues that you had, because people always point to, like I think we had this conversation after the Oregon State game. There was a few problems there that you look at it and go, man, he got sacked, did Morton or whatever. But then there's plenty of times where it's like Barron could sat back there and taken a nap and still fired off the pass, which he did for 464 that particular day or night or long day as it would be. Then on Saturday, you felt their pressure a bit. You false started a bit, but I just felt like, and this is the biggest compliment I can give to the offensive line and Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams, you could run it when you wanted to. Like you were like doing your thing between the tackles on the edge. And Cam and Jacoby deserve some credit for some of this too. But I just felt like as a group, you went into what was supposed to be one of the top defenses that you may see all year at their place, and Kyle Whittingham would be the first one to tell you, we lost the line of scrimmage today on both sides of the ball. And so for the issue, and I thought there was times when like either Barron or Will, they sat in that pocket and maybe it's like, okay, you need to get rid of it quicker, but they had time on several occasions to get the ball way down the field. This is what you didn't have last year. You didn't have the time to sit back and then and go vertical too many times, or you had to max protect and all that. But you're not having to send or keep 7 guys in to allow it, because I think you're getting better up front. I do. Last comment I'll make to you, Calvin, is that I've seen a lot of the chatter about Will Jados and like, he's dealing with a shoulder issue. I think he's been playing through it. We've talked about it on the radio broadcast. There's never been an issue on whether he was going to play or not. But I mean, he's just, and Hunter Zambrano has kind of come in. He's come in a couple of times and like, okay, he's going to play right tackle. He's going to play left guard. We want to continue to develop depth. We view him as a 6th guy, okay, starter, if you will. But that didn't happen this last game. And keep in mind, Zambrano had missed the Oregon State game, but they didn't want to. So I don't know if are we set. But then you got a bunch of guys coming back now. Ellis Davis and Cash Cleveland and Holton Hendricks isn't too far off. So anyway, it's a fun conversation to have. But I got to tell you, I kind of like the way this is trending. I really like the way this is trending, and we knew that it would be a work in progress here. But because you are protected, you've got lots of options here to get through what should be a very difficult season to maneuver through.
Yeah, I really feel like, and the reason I'm sort of bringing this up today is because I've got a great offensive line source, offensive line plug, a man who is an offensive lineman through and through. He played it. He coached it. This is a man who has very few sleeves in his wardrobe. I think he even eats chili out of a can on occasion. He is offensive line through and through. So I was actually visiting with him this week, Chris, and kind of seeing what he thought about the group. And I was, just because I'm a fan, surface level, drawn to shiny objects guy, I was more so trying to go immediately to Howard Sampson. What do you think about the new addition? What do you think about the big guy on the left side? And the response I got was essentially, I hadn't paid much attention to the left side because Jacob Ponton has gotten all of this guy's attention. He called him the future of that group. And I know we've talked about how much potential and upside this guy has, but it just kind of got me to thinking about, well, has the best offensive lineman actually yet been a newcomer, or is it a returner? You mentioned Sheridan Wilson, so there's an answer in one way to that question, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to put on my list more attention paid to Jacob Ponton in some weeks to come whenever they return to action, because I think he is turning some heads. And I'm with you. The trend overall for the group, I'm liking to this point in the season. I think we asked prior to the conference opener, are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you right where you expected to be? And we knew all of that kind of within the context of, missing some guys in fall camp and the script sort of being changed already. I'll just say, I guess you're right on course, maybe. I don't know that you're ahead or anything like that, but you had your toughest test so far of the season, and maybe one of the toughest you'll get in Salt Lake, and you came up with one of your best results. So how could you not like that trend at least, right?
I think we probably said you were still work in progress, or you hadn't reached your peak and all that when we last talked about this, just because some of it's just no fault of your own. You've got different guy had food poisoning one day. Guy missed 2 or 3 weeks of camp. Howard Sampson, a game or so ago, like scared everybody and left, and he was dehydrated and he got an IV. It's crazy because in a game where they had 7 or 8 false start penalties, I think you took a pretty big step forward, and now you've kind of advanced into a different portion, just because I can't ignore for how many yards you ran for. I can't ignore how many clean pockets you had, whether the best ball was delivered or whether you should have gotten rid of it sooner, or whether you completed the pass or whatever. The offensive line gave an opportunity for a quarterback to really throw the ball down the field a variety of times. It was not perfect. It's all about context, who it was against, where it was, and all that stuff. But I like the way that this is trending. And on the subject of Jacob Ponton, we did a show in August of, say, 24, okay, before the previous year had started. And I think it was who are the best pro prospect on this team? And that was the name that I think we discussed at length. And it was not realized potential. It was he's got a chance to be, but that was kind of the chatter. And we are now seeing some of this potential start to be realized right in front of our eyes. And the beautiful thing is, I think that you are now have weathered a bit of a storm of sorts as it relates to that position, because you are stockpiling very talented offensive linemen that are being allowed to grow up. And I feel like we've been here before, but it's a little bit different now than it ever has been, because not even the newcomers are good enough to get on the field because of somebody like Ponton. So you're now seeing, because I think Holton Hendricks was having a phenomenal camp. He would have been 6th or 7th had he not gotten dinged up when he did back in August. And I just I think you're in a pretty good spot as it relates to big picture and the near the whatever, because Ponton is a pup.
Yeah,
I mean he's and theoretically so is Howard Sampson.
Sure.
I mean, these guys have multiple years of eligibility left, and I don't know what the future holds, but I mean, these could be your bookend tackles again next year, and I hope that is the case.
I think there are games you have won where you feel like, man, you sort of did that in spite of your offensive line, where some things went wrong. Like, boy, you survived a bad day for the offensive line. I don't feel that way about Saturday. I think you were in a heavyweight fight. As an offensive line, your nose was bloodied, your eye was swollen. You may have even been knocked down at one point in time. Given the false start, you probably punched yourself in the face a couple of times on accident. But you won the fight. Who cares what the bruises and the wounds look like? Does that make sense? I don't feel like it was like in spite of the offense. No, they did their part in a 12-round fight, and eventually you were separated by 24 points. So,
and I'm
digging all that.
And I don't know how they graded out individually. I mean, there was one time where Howard Sampson, he was kind of holding, he let go, and I think he got Barron hit pretty hard by the Daly kid. That wasn't good. It was, and I think I told you this a few days ago, but Big Howie, as he's referred to in the locker room there, he came over to me. It's like toward the end of the game. And I just happened to be standing there, and he's like, I got to start faster, man. He's like, this wasn't good enough for me. Like, he knew. He wasn't, like, all caught up into, like, oh, we made it. I mean, he was like, man, I've just got to be better. I mean, he enjoyed that win. But, I mean, I think there's so much more improvement. And that's what Joey would probably say about this team in general, is that we haven't hit the right gear yet. I mean, I was – yeah, I mean, so there's a lot more to happen, a lot more to play out.
I hope they're all pissed off. I'm glad Howard's pissed off. I hope they're all. And Howie, he didn't strike me as a Howie, more like a very strong Howard. But I'll take Howie, yes, sir, if that's what you'd like, sir. Can't wait to see you back on the field in Houston.
Yes.
I just like we talked about on Monday, I think, sort of a script here that was kind of just a convenience, I think, for the staff or anybody, is that you had plenty of coachable moments from this awesome win to then work with for the next 2 weeks. So I'm sure they've been busy doing that. You mentioned stockpiling, and I want to talk about that, though, in a different category, Chris, because our guy Brent in the Matador Mob was bringing this up earlier in the week on the heels of all of our Will Hammond conversation. First, today's episode brought to you by DoorDash, and it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players deliver when it matters most. This week for Texas Tech, it was the backup QB, Will Hammond, entering the game against Utah after Baron Morton is knocked out of the action and leading the Red Raiders to a win in the air, on the ground, 13 for 16 with 2 touchdowns and 61 yards rushing, en route to being named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. And just like Will Hammond delivered for Texas Tech, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. And DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. So you can stack it up all season and wind up saving up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Keep the winning alive by fueling your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Play your props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Brent was asking about the future of that QB room, and we've talked a lot about, hey, even if the time's not now, we're excited about the Will Hammond era. But when you think about Lloyd Jones, you think about possible additions beyond that. You think about Stephen Cannon. You think about exciting names like Kavion Bryant. This is not unique to a Texas Tech program, obviously. I mean, everybody's got to navigate this, but I was kind of curious to maybe get your thoughts on how you could see this sort of being navigated. And I'm also curious about the Baron Morton to Will Hammond angle when it comes to mobility. Is it a given that we're going to be, plunging into a much more dual threat or mobile style quarterback moving forward? Two-part question there.
I don't worry about a log jam. This is what you take one a year. This is what the good programs deal with. I think this is just kind of part of the way it works, because it's funny because Stephen Cannon is committed to you, hasn't even signed yet, and everybody's already moved on to the next guy in line, which is Kavion Bryant, right? Like Stephen Cannon is like, man, I can't even get my time to shine. Like I'm not even here yet. Y'all have already moved on to the next dude, right? Yeah. And it's funny too, because and along those lines, Chubb, Lloyd Jones, his nickname is Chubb. I mean, this is a very talented player. This is a 6'3", 6'4" dual threat that had. I mean, I was looking at it to make sure. He had basically 1,700 rushing yards in his high school career. And Will Hammond had over 1,000 yards his senior season. So you are probably like, you've always wanted, at the minimum, like, do we consider Pat Mahomes a dual threat? No, I don't. However, I think that he's, at the minimum, that's what they must be able to do, is be an extend the play guy, like an athletic, like I've got to be able to move around. I'm not just your prototypical drop back, sit in the pocket. That's passe, if you will. Mm-hmm. That just won't work in this. Or if you have that, you're going to have a complement, and you're going to have a red zone guy. You're going to have a short yardage guy. You're going to have to do some different things with your scheme to kind of make the defense have to prepare for and deal with a lot of different things. But it's funny because Barron is he's not a dual threat per se, but he's very athletic. I mean, he was an all-state athlete in 5 sports in high school. I mean, he'd do everything. But it's different. Like Hammond's lower half is definitely different than Barron. There's just no doubt about that. Lloyd Jones is the same. Kavion Bryant is definitely different from that standpoint. Stephen Cannon is more of like a Barron in that he can extend a play. He can run it, but that's not like what you're going to like lean on. So I don't know if I can say to you that without fail, like this is the prototype. They will never waver from it, because it's some of both. I mean, I think Cannon and Barron are similar, but then Will and Chubb and Bryant but like, see, Bryant may be more, if you get him, he's not committed yet. I think you're working on it. If you get him, he may be more legs than he is arm. And that may be like, it may be tilted more to that's, you see what I mean? So
yeah, there's like a scale of dual threat.
Yes.
I was thinking that when you brought up Patrick Mahomes, because I would say he is, to me, if I had a gun in my head, dual threat. And I wouldn't say Baron Morton is. So there's like, and then there's Drew Bledsoe on the far end of it. So there's like this huge scale of, it's kind of like you're talking about maybe with Devin Dampier in the sense of, are you scrambling to run, scrambling to throw kind of thing?
There's two different kinds of guys. See, so that's why I view Pat is like Baron in that they're scramble to throw guys. I mean, yes, they can tuck it and go, and they have. We've seen this. I think Cannon is a scramble to throw guy. Some of the other ones may be more. Yeah, I'm gonna if everybody's back is turned to me, I'm gonna scramble. I'm out. I'm out the gate. So I don't know.
Chris, I used to feel like a dual threat quarterback, a true dual threat quarterback, on the college level was almost like a cheat code because the defensive speed was not where it needed to be in the way that it was in the NFL to really combat that. That was when I think the dual threats were fewer and further between, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. Am I wrong in that? Has the speed changed? Has the nature of the speed defensively changed, or the nature of a dual threat quarterback? Just feels like it's a little more widespread now and not quite as much of a cheat code or an advantage over just any random defense on a Saturday.
Well, but it still is in that you talk in football. We talked about this before a little bit, but it's all about like gaps. Okay, defensively, you're responsible for this one, and everybody's assigned kind of to. But like anytime the quarterback runs it, there's a gap that's not accounted for, and that's what it just. No matter the scheme, no matter the down and distance on the field, or where you are on the field, that's what causes problems. And there's really no. And then if you say, okay, we're going to spy this guy, well, okay, it's all about if that's the way you want to do it. But now you've unaccounted for something else somewhere else. Right?
There's only so much math.
That's why the QB run game aspect of it is so fascinating and why so many people are using it. And I get that I don't want to put my guy in harm's way. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's rumors out there with some certain quarterbacks that, their agent or their family doesn't want them to be utilized in the QB run game for fear of being hurt. And
really?
So let's limit that. Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I wouldn't think that, but
yeah, because because so many of these guys can run, and they're like, why are they not running more? Well, maybe it's because they don't want them to get hurt. I mean, who knows? Yeah. And there's, coaches can make those decisions. I'm gonna put him in harm's way a few times, but we just can't major in this because he's not going to hold up. At some point, you're going to have a guy get dinged up, and we don't have anything behind him or whatever. So that's kind of always the internal dilemma that you're going on. But I do think that the QB run game 20 years ago, now it's still a problem regardless of scheme and defense and all that, just because there's just something there that you can't account for. And if you're good enough to exploit it, it's a problem.
Well, and maybe there's more of those guys available as QBs because of the evolution of high school offenses in Texas and elsewhere. I don't know. There may be some that are just better at it now than they were once upon a time.
Because typically coaches put their best, a lot of times they'll just put their best athlete at quarterback, and like Cam Dickey was a great example. Cam Dickey's not a natural quarterback. Well, guess what? His high school program was not great. So they were like, you know what? Let's let him just take snaps, and if he has to run, okay, so be it.
Let him touch the ball first.
Marcus Ramon Edwards was a high school quarterback too. He's not a natural quarterback, but it's like tackle the man with the ball, and so that's kind of what you get with some of these guys.
Our preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, former QB.
Yes,
pretty good.
That's right.
I gotta say.
Yes.
All right, Chris. Before we get out of here, I did want to switch gears, and as we continue to look ahead, talk more so about the schedule before us. First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward with 3:51 left in the game, it was Cameron Dickey showing the Utes a thing or two about finishing a play as he's first stopped, then breaks loose for a 24-yard touchdown to make it 27-10. Good guys, and essentially put the game on ice. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Texas Tech is in a position where some could make an argument. Biggest game of the regular season is now in your rear view. There were a lot of implications for it. Of course, not a make or break necessarily scenario in the Big 12 conference, but top 20 matchup on the road, yada, yada, yada. You get all that. Now we're looking ahead as you dispatch of Utah. They're out of the top 25. You're looking ahead to what I guess this week does include a top 25 opponent in BYU squeaking in there later on down the road. But it's pretty light as far as those, I guess, supposed resume builders. So this is actually another question that we had from Larry. No, I'm sorry. This was Lawrence in the Matador Mob. Are we going to really need to be talking style points more than we're accustomed to? If you're able to get wins, is there going to need to be some extra icing on top for Texas Tech in order to really make an impression when it comes to the resume? I don't want to put a cart before a horse, so I just want to make sure we're hedging with win, priority number one, even if it's 1 point by any means. Yeah. But what do you think about the style points or resume building angle?
I'll take half a point wins. I don't care how you get to that point or how ugly it is. Just survive in advance. And as you were talking about that, because the next biggest game really that could cause a lot of natural big pub would be Arizona State. And how glorious would that be, by the way, if you play that one at 10 a.m. local time too for a big noon kickoff. Inject that into my veins if you're out there and you've got anything to say about that. Like I would ride that ride again. The conversation is fascinating because I've seen we've got our fans on RedRaidersports.com, and there's kind of like the Arizona State and Baylor game on Saturday night was a great example of what I'm about to get into. Who was everybody rooting for and why? Because you now have these two different paths you can take, which really it's kind of the same path, but they're very different. Some people are looking at it like I've heard, I want so-and-so to win because I want them to be the highest ranked or I want them to be undefeated when we play them, okay? Others have looked at it and going, anybody in your way to get to the conference championship game, I don't care who they are, who they're playing against, I want them to take as many L's as possible. I want some of these obstacles to be just eliminated, and you, as long as you win. So, because those are two very different things. Some people are in the mindset of, I want the best resume. I want to be the highest ranked. I want to beat the best teams. But you're all still pointing to Arlington. But some people are looking at it and maybe peeking ahead a little bit, going, well, this helps our seeding. If once we win the Big 12 title game, this would help your seeding and maybe allows you to host a playoff game or even get a bye now that we're in straight seeding model and it's not, the conference championships don't get the automatic bye and all that stuff. It's almost like they've kind of looked at it differently as opposed to just focused on Arlington. And I think those are very different, but the same thing. I'm more of the mindset of I want as many obstacles as eliminated from you as possible to get you to Arlington. Because at that point, you then control your destiny. You can control, and you know what? If you got to go on the road in the CFP in the first round, I'll allow it.
Yes,
I would love nothing more than to have a playoff game in Lubbock, Texas. That would be the city would burn. There would be Lime scooters that do not survive that. There would be cars on Broadway that would be highly flammable. I get all that, but it's just about Arlington right now. And so because theoretically you want Arizona State to lose to TCU. I mean, I kind of wanted Baylor to beat Arizona State the other night. I mean, you need the Sun Devils like out of the way, and then you can, because I can't do anything about TCU, can't do anything about Baylor or Iowa State. So anyway, that's the way I view it. But to each his own. That's the beauty of sport. We can all pick up whatever argument we want to, and go from there.
I mean, natural speculation, thinking about playoff seeding or resume building after any team starts 1-0 in league play. I think that's a natural time to definitely be considering that type of stuff. I think it has to do, obviously, with the opponent that you beat and the circumstance you did it in as to why you're dreaming so largely. Many weeks still between then and now. However, I think it's a worthwhile question, because if you were interested in those types of things much further down the road, you would need a boost, I think, beyond just wins in the Big 12 Conference. But clearly just the path to Arlington doesn't matter. And I'm with you, Chris. Knock them down, get them out of the way by whatever means, get there, and then get in whatever form that takes. If you happen to win and blow everybody out, we're open to that also.
1,000%. I will tell you, I did I think, I don't know if this was even part of the conversation, whenever on the third down, whenever Will Hammond dropped back and he threw that bad boy in the corner when you're already up 27-10, and he threw that bad boy up in the corner with about 2 minutes left to Reggie Virgil. I thought about, you're just saying hello here. But again, you're on the 12, 15-yard line, somewhere around in there. So it wasn't like you're going deep. But I mean, I did think about that. Like, this is going to look a lot better than, and I think you've gotten a little credit there. But I just think if for all of this, the argument to be about the at-large argument, if that's what you're really focusing on, it's going to require you to be 11-1 or 12-0 in the title game to be able to lose it in advance, in my opinion. I may be wrong there. Maybe you can do 10-2 and then drop to 10-3 and still make it. I find that hard to believe based on the at-large and all that stuff. Notre Dame is definitely out of the way, but that's just how I was viewing it. So to each his own. Fun conversations to have, though.
Dream a little dream, right?
From here, it's possible. That's the rumor.
Thank you for spurring that on. Appreciate the text. Appreciate the time, as always, Chris, the insight as well. Enjoyed it, man, and we'll get back together for one more again. Mailbag mode is coming up next. Looking forward to it.
Mailbagging it next time. I like it. Send in some questions. We'll talk about all the things, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to kind of planning out a nothing weekend of watching everybody else get excited or lose, as it would be, and getting to pick, to who I want to root for or against, because I will be rooting for some and against others. So that's just the way this lovely thing goes.
That's right. Open weekend, idle weekend. Nothing can hurt us now, as long as we're minding our P's and Q's. Look out for those Bash, Rip Rocks, Penny Pints, boys. Let's take care of everything we need to take care of this weekend. For those that don't know, that's a reference from 25 years ago. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And, of course, thank you to the everydayers for always being out there in the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, that's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.